Hey there guys, for my final video on the Arachne Clash of Wills, we're going to be going for a rank 1 perfect score with a quick clear. We're going to be doing it in 5 turns or less, all modifiers, perfect score. So let's give it a go, taking basically the best of the best units for this Clash of Wills. We're going to be taking the Nier units, Sylvie, Tsukiko, Lilith, and Kaito, which is, in my opinion, literally the top 6 units for this Clash of Wills. And when you're using all 6 at the same time, well, it makes the Clash of Wills quite easy. So we're going to kill it on turn 5. We're going to do our damage cap on turn 4, finish it off directly afterwards. So here's how we do it. Now, the one big headache here is Lilith, because she auto-covers, and we don't want that because she's a terrible tank. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Lilith to use cover. That's because it's a stat buff. We want a stat buff on turn 1. So we're just going to cover and then Betrayal and Rapture. Once that stat buff goes out for the rest of the party, we're going to use Kaito to dispel Lilith's cover because she's not allowed to tank on this clear. That is Sylvie's job. Now that Lilith's cover has been dispelled, Sylvie is going to do mitigation, petals and vines for all the mitigations, morale fill, etc. We're going to have A2 just triple offensive to fill the morale gauge. 2B will do both the killer buffs, and we're going to do a mirage stack for turn 2. We don't need it on turn 1, we're going to need it on turn 2. Tsukiko is going to start in the base for the Celestite Rod, then shift, then we're going to do Omamori, and then, whoops, Omamori and double flare to both unlock her Magnus as well as seal the boss on turn 1. So turn 1, just some single target stuff. The boss has no accuracy. Sylvie will evade everything. Super easy turn 1. Of course, the gravity damage, but you know, we're not really worried about that. So really, we're just going to be like spamming morale skills for the early part, because we're going for a turn 4 burst, which is pretty quick. But you want to fill that morale gauge as quickly as we can to make it nice and easy. So we're going to use Sylvie now to Compassionate for the status immunity, also to get rid of that disease off the party. So Sylvie will Compassionate, and then again, morale fill with vines and petals. We're going to have A2, triple offensive to fill that morale gauge. Lilith can triple Rapture to both fill morale gauge as well as heal the party. We're going to shift Kaito and do triple deep yet again to fill the morale gauge. Tsukiko, back to the base form. Can you guess what we're going to do? That's right, we're going to Mandala Light, then we're going to Protection and Purification to fill morale. 2B will use her LB this turn to get the modifier boost, because we are going for a turn 4 burst mode. Okay, this turn has some AoE, but we did avoid last turn with 2B, so therefore we are avoiding it all. And we did dispel Lilith's cover, so she's not interfering here. Very nice. Okay, as the first action on phase 3, on turn 3, and I'll have a turn chart in the comments like usual if you want to follow this along, although this does require specific gearing and units. But anyway, as the first action on turn 3, once Tsukiko finishes her auto-casting, we're going to go ahead and double Purification, and now we're going to do the Light Imbue for the party with Tsukiko. We're going to shift Sylvie, and wait, no, we'll go ahead and do it now. Let's have Sylvie do a triple cheerful, because we want to fill that morale gauge, and that is morale fill. Kaito is now going to Crashing Waves the boss's buffs away. We're going to also do Deadly and Natural for the Big Imperil, all that kind of goodness. Now we're going to set up for bursting next turn. So 2B is going to do, let's see here, True Charge, there it is, True Charge, Supreme Yorha, and then the other True Charge Blade. Lilith is just going to do Betrayal and Double Rapture, and we're going to triple offensive. Now notice we are not using A2's big setup yet. A2 is going to help us finish off the boss on turn 5. She's not really going to be part of the big burst on turn 4. So we'll go ahead and chain these guys up, because we're not going to do a huge overburst on turn 4, so we need to deal a little bit of damage just so the boss doesn't hang at like 51%. So the morale gauge is nice and maxed out. You know, with this party, we can max it in three turns. But even if we didn't max it all the way, like if we were at like, 190 morale, it'd still be fine. We're going to overcap by a decent chunk. Anyway, turn 3 does have accuracy, so there are some painful hits on the boss, but we're not really worried about, or on Sylvie. we're not really worried about that. Now it's turn 4. We're going to do our big burst for the 2.5 billion score. So Sylvie is going to start off with shifted LB for the mod boost, LB buff, stat buff, etc. Kaito is going to do downpour for the bigger machine killer buff. Then we're going to do unpredictable to get rid of the boss's buffs right here, and then just deep to fill the morale gauge. Alright, Tsukiko will now shift, and we're going to do her Magnus Shining Karmic. We're going to use A2 to go to the base form and do her LB. We're going to use Lilith to do her SLB. And now A2 is going to get ready for bursting next turn. She's going to Inorganic, Yorha, and then Finisher. But we're going to weave this in so that that Finisher attack of A2 does hit the boss. So A2 is going to help a little bit on the bursting. So let's go ahead and do our burst. We're not going to hit a 100 count chain score. We're going to do that next turn. So we're going to burst them, but we're going to send these guys first. Then we're going to send Tsukiko like a moment later. That way it weaves in perfectly. And this should be the 2.5 damage cap and threshold. So 3.2, we actually didn't even need to do that damage on turn 3 because we did a ton of damage on turn 4. Overcapped by a bunch, 3.2. There's the boss's threshold stuff. We're going to automatically crash in waves with Kaito, get rid of it. And now it is time to finish off the boss. So the first thing we're going to do with Sylvie is we're going to refill 2B's LB with I've Got Your Back. And then we're going to double cheerful, because we do got to generate 30,000 morale before the clear is over. And we're doing it so quickly, we're not having a lot of time for that, but this is going to work fine. Kaito is now going to do Deadly and Natural, because the boss did cure all the debuffs, and then just Deep Submersion, which fills the morale gauge. And okay, now it is time to finish off the boss. Now at this point, the boss does have human mitigation, but, you know, this party, literally no one gives a damn. We are all non-humans. So A2 is now going to use Hateful Blade for that bigger burst on this turn to help give us going. She's got a 150 amplify at this point. Lilith is going to triple Betrayal. Tsukiko will triple Solar. And will LB yet again with 2B, although she doesn't have her 150 amp at this point. And there it is. That is the end of the boss in Phase 2. Once the big, self-capping hits at the end come in. 5-turn perfect score. All missions. That's not really a mission, but, all credentials. We actually damage capped both times. 3.1 on the first burst, 3.1 on the second burst. Nice, quick speed clear for those of you that want to just get in here and get it done. I'll put a turn chart in the comments. Perfect score. We did generate 30,000 morale during that. And there is a rank 1 carried by Best Girl 2B. You guys keep trying to defend A2 to me about how A2 is so great. I'd argue. But anyway, here's the clear because, the big thing about 2B that I love with 2B is you can give her support like in Trust, and you can spam her burst back to back to back. You can't do that with an SLB unit like 2B. That's why 2B is so dramatically better than A2. I think I said 2B a minute ago. I get the names mixed up. 2B, A2, they have goofy names. Anyway, there's the clear. I'll show you the gear and the team and all. That said, I don't want to lead you wrong. A2 was important for this clear because A2 did save her secondary or her main big burst for the second burst time. Anyway, you get the idea. They were both important, and they also buff each other. Anyway, here is the clear the team we used. So Sylvie is using 200 or better Thunder Resist for the accuracy Thunder turn. That being said, we never even get to the point where the boss has a chance to use light damage, so you can ignore light resist because we kill the boss so quickly. He never even does light imbue. Counter build, full evasion, passive provoke, a lot of defense. There we go, always watching over me. I probably could have made her dual wield for more morale gain, but it would lower her bulk. It wasn't needed. But if your Sylvie is dying or is not dying, but you are having morale problems, you can dual wield her. Shift form, same thing. Tsukiko in the base form. Start in the base form. Obsidian Bracer, Empress Rod, etc. Just, whatever, some bulk. Shift form is damage, max damage versus everything. She is, full max evocation. There it is, and she does a lot of damage. 2B in both forms are geared identical. She is maxed LB damage versus humans and machines. There it is. Maxed on everything, only EX2. If she's EX3, she'll be even better. Kaito starts in the base form. In his base form, he is using Rage Beast Roar. He's also using a source of auto buff with Wisdom of Hest because the Rage Beast does dispel himself, and we miss out on the turn 1 stat buff of Lilith because you got to do that. You got to get rid of Lilith's buffs. Shift form, just some bulk. Dual wielding a light element weapon on the Always Watching Over Me card for an extra morale gain. And he's important for that speed clear because he gets rid of the boss's buffs. A2 in her only form is 10,700 attack power, maxed on literally everything, and she did decent damage. She only got 1 burst off because she is an SLB. Actually, it's not even because she's SLB. It's because she's a cooldown finisher, which is actually worse than SLB because SLB can be going to EX3 every 3rd turn. Her cooldown is every 4th turn. Whatever. We're gonna get off the A2 hate train. So here's the build. We're getting the chain cap up from the Titus card. Before you say, where's the chain cap? It's right here. That's the chain cap. Anyway, there is the build, and there's A2. And then Lilith, not provoking. I tried to do a clear earlier where Lilith tanks, and it did work, but it was not clean, and I didn't like it. So we swapped out Lilith as a pure DPS. We dispel her cover on turn 1, and she does really good damage, which is very nice. I wish she didn't have auto cover because she thinks she's a tank. She's not. She's not a tank. She thinks she is, but she's not. But there it is. And she's maxed on everything. Maxed LB, maxed human, and maxed machine. And yeah, there's the 5-turn clear, perfect score. Probably the last of my Clash of Wills videos for this event. I look forward to the next one for Christmas. See you then.